Welcome everyone and welcome to our Monday's live talks. So today we're going to be talking about the key to empathy. And I just don't want to be sitting here and talking everything that you know already about empathy or how important it is or what is empathy versus sympathy, for example, because you can Google that and you'll find all those answers. What I want to be focusing on with you today is more what's the impact of empathy, what are the consequences, and how can each one of us tap more into our empathetic side, and when and why would we do that? So let me ask you a question and let's see how many of you would answer yes for those questions. Do you ever feel like you don't understand why someone is doing what they're doing? Do you ever feel that you're not being understood by someone else whenever you're sharing something, whether it's an opinion or an action? Have you ever felt that you're so frustrated from your team members or your team colleagues and you just can't get the best out of them? Have you been feeling frustrated from your children and you feel very disconnected from them and seems kind of like it's not working and you're losing them? We are all human beings that thrive on connection. This is how we are programmed. This is how we are meant to live. We thrive on connection. What is connection? Is to be feeling those around us. It's to be understanding those around us and to be understood and felt by those around us as well. And without empathy, that is not possible at all. All those times that managers complain about their teams or the millennials generations or complain about how they can't just get along or get the best out of those people working with them, there's something to be looking at here. Am I really caring and nurturing for connection to enable productivity, or am I actually causing more disconnection by becoming the micromanager, by becoming very open and unconscious of all the mistakes and what's not happening or how I want things to go my way? Or am I a parent that's focusing too much on how I want my children to become, on who do I want them to become, on how do I want them to act, or what words do I want them to be choosing, instead of actually stopping and pausing and actually getting curious? Where are they really at? Trying to understand them, what they're going through, what are their choices and where their choices are coming from. We all have reasons why we do the things we are doing. That does not validate the reason as being right or that's the most appropriate thing to be chosen, but we all have reasons. So let's get curious about what those reasons are. First, I want you to be reflecting on yourself. What happens when you become more judgmental? What's the impact of you becoming more judgmental? And judgmental, you could really test that when you're entering a new room full of new people that you know none of. What are the first thoughts that come to your mind? Most probably the majority of us, and this is the human nature, would go and enter that room and start looking for people that we have common grounds with, people who look like us, maybe feel like us, maybe we have something in common or something similar. We like to feel connected to those. No one wants to feel left out. No one wants to feel like they're the odd one out. It feels very uncomfortable for us as human beings. And this is another proof that the more we judge others as being different or unacceptable or not what we would like them to be, or like not good enough, or judge them in any kind of way, the more we're actually creating disconnection between me and that person. So 100%, if you're a manager, if you're a parent, if you're a colleague, or if you're a team member, even judging your manager, or you're a young person judging your parents, you're also creating this connection. And there's no way from this connection that you're going to be creating a win-win situation. There's no way from this connection that you're going to be creating productivity and more outputs and more fulfillment and more the feeling of being valued. The number one reasons why people leave relationships why people leave jobs, why people leave other friendships, is because they're not feeling connected. They're not feeling understood. They're not feeling valued. They're not feeling that they are worthy. Empathy creates all of that. Creates the sense of connection, creates the sense of understanding, creates the sense of I really care for you even in those moments where I don't really agree about it. Empathy is not acknowledging every single thought or action from the other person. Empathy is just understanding and telling that other person, I understand you, I see where you're coming from, I could relate to that in a different situation in my life, and then when it's appropriate, you start taking a different action or reaction, or even open up a conversation with them. Definitely when someone is coming and sharing something with me, I wouldn't start, but at least this is good, but at least this is better, it could have been worse. That's not when I'm being empathetic. It could be the natural thing when we don't know what to do in difficult situations and we just want to make things feel better for that person, we try to do that. But is that really helping the situation? Is that really making things become better? Is it really sending a message to the other person that they are seen, that they are understood? Not. But empathy would look like this. If someone is coming to share a difficult situation with me, then I'm trying to connect to that same emotion from my past experience in my life, and then I'd feel that same emotion. Maybe I have nothing to say or to add or no solution for that situation, but at least I'm acknowledging their emotions. At least I'm acknowledging how difficult the situation is. And from that space, we get connected. And when connection happens, things actually start to become better. They feel more empowered to actually find solutions to the difficult situation rather than just be trapped and stuck alone. One thing that I want you to start noticing, the key to empathy is when you start to accept instead of expect. A lot of those situations when actually judgment is increasing and lack of empathy is happening, we're actually expecting something from the other person. As a manager, you're expecting a certain performance or a certain way to do the job from your team members. As a parent, you're expecting a certain image from your kids. As a team member, you're expecting a certain way of treatment from your boss. As an individual, you're expecting something from society. You're expecting someone from those leaders leading your country. We're all the time expecting. And the more we're expecting, the more we are actually judging others. Are they meeting our expectations or not? And the more we lack empathy. Studies have shown that due to world changes, society norms, and all those trends and pressures happening around us, that the level of empathy along the years have been decreasing. And it's about time to actually start to wake up. Do we still want to live and continue to live in a world with lack of empathy? I want you for a moment to think of that. What does that look like? What does lack of empathy feel like for each individual? How did you feel when you were not understood? When you were not given the safe space to say, I need help, or I did a mistake and I'm sorry and I want to change things? When you're not being allowed to become yourself or be yourself? Look at those places and those times where you're being someone for the sake of meeting others' expectations, but you're not being yourself. How does that feel? Do you want to continue like this or not? And the more we want to receive empathy from those around us, the more we should be asking ourselves to give empathy to those around us. So remember again, start to accept people as they are. Accept them as this is their starting point and take them from there. Accept that they have their own kind of potential, not what you're expecting from them. Accept that things might not be as you want them and see what you can get out of this. Accept that we're all trying to figure our ways out. Future generations, past generations, we're all doing our best in the way that we actually know it. The other thing that actually is kind of like a question on top of a lot of people is empathy a skill or is it a trait? Am I born with empathy, or can I develop empathy? And I'll give you an example of a research that has been done that shows the answer to that question. They've asked females and they've asked males to start empathizing and understanding and seeing people around them. And then they gathered the results at the end. Just like many of you would probably be guessing right now, females had a higher empathy rate. Does that mean that females or women can feel empathy more than men? Yes and no. So naturally, maybe through the experiences and all of that, that brings out the empathy inside of women. But here's how the study actually continued. They repeated exactly the same task, but now telling everyone that you will be paid for the number of people that you really understand and really listened and cared to see their value. Imagine what the results are. Of course, men were able to actually, by focusing and by practicing and by intentionally wanting to find empathy towards those people they come across, they actually increase their numbers highly. And this is the proof that empathy is a skill. The more you practice empathy, and the more you practice to focus on seeing the value of others and connecting and understanding others and putting yourself in their own perspective, the more you will become empathetic. So don't give up and just say that I'm not empathetic, I'm not used to that, I don't deal with emotions, this is me and this is who I am. Because this is the choice that you're making. This is a choice to lose connection with those around you. This is a choice to lose the true fulfillment that we as human beings are born and created for. So I encourage each and every one of you to start today. Start intentionally practicing empathy towards those around you. Start intentionally to speak about empathy and creating the space where empathy could be actually circulated. Start to create the safe environment where it's okay to accept people with all their mistakes, with all their failures, with all their difficult emotions. Make it okay to say that you're stuck, to ask for help, to say that you actually did something wrong, and then build again from there. We all learn from each other, and none of us are actually perfect human beings. We all have our imperfections, and this is what makes us full human beings. So I encourage you to really tap into empathy, because this is what we thrive on.